You don't know that one, huh?
Nah.
Well, what about the Camptown Ladies?
The Camptown Ladies.
The Camptown Ladies sing this song. Doo-dah, doo-dah. The Camptown racetrack 5 miles long. Oh, doo-dah day. Quiet run all night. Quiet run all day. I bet my money in a bobtail bag. Somebody bet on the bay.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here? I'm paying you to do a Q&A, not a run around like you're a Kansas City gadfly.
Sorry, Mr. Taggart. I guess we just got caught up.
Well, sit down, dummy. I got to introduce the next guest.
Okay.
Either way, that's all good. And next, ladies and gentlemen, she is a wonderful actress appearing in, starting off in the horror genre, but then we're combining with Rob Reiner in The Sure Thing, Vision Quest, Melrose Place, an episode of Dead Man's Gun that I was particularly fond of, One Tree Hill. Today we talked to her about Princess Vespa from Spaceballs. Please welcome Daphne Zuniga. Wow. All right, everybody, thanks for coming. That was great. Oh, my goodness. Oh, thank you so much for joining us here today. Thank you. Welcome to Raleigh.
Hey, it is so good to be in Raleigh. I haven't been here in many years. I used to do commercials for Daryl's Restaurants. Are they still around here? All right. I used to come here and do their commercials for 3 or 4 years. Yeah.
Very nice, very nice. What I would like to do is I'd like to go into individually a little bit about your careers, and we'll do it chronologically. So, Burton, Age Before Beauty. Sorry. Like I said, you were a firefighter, and you got picked up in Paper Moon.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
I was a firefighter in Dallas for 14 years. I had never been in even a grade school play. I'd never done anything. But I saw an article in the Dallas paper in June of 1972. It said some big director by the name of Peter Bogdanovich was coming to Dallas. He was going to audition people to be extras at a picture called Paper Moon, and Ryan O'Neal was the star of the show, and I thought I might get to see Ryan O'Neal. I went down and stood in line with 450 people, and bang, through a series of things in the next couple of weeks, I wound up with the 6th largest part in the picture and a co-starring role, and a year and a half later, I like 7 votes getting an Academy Award nomination. But, you know, so thank you. But so I did that picture, and then about 4 months later at the fire station, I got a phone call from Mel Brooks, and I'd never heard of him, but he wanted me to come out and do a picture called Blazing Saddles, and I told him no. But he called back again and talked to my captain at the fire station, and so I talked to him. I kept telling him no, and he said, "Just come out and see us, and just meet my people here. We want you to be in our picture." I went out to see him, told him no because the part was nothing, and I went back to Dallas. And about 10 days later, I got a phone call at home, and I said hello, and this guy said, "Hey man, this is Richard." I said, "Richard who?" He said, "Richard Pryor, man." And he was one of our writers. He convinced me what they were doing, and they had rewritten my part and wanted me to come out and talk to him again. And I did go out and talk to him, told him no again because we couldn't get together on money. Then Mel calls me back and said, "I want to talk to you about the money." So I went back and talked to him about the money and told him I was making, at the fire station, I made $12,000 a year.
Now, this was
That's pretty
1970
impressive.
money, right?
That is, yeah, that was in 1972, early 72, and I know that impressed him. And, so he said, "Well, okay, that's $4,000 a week. We can do that." But anyway, and I wound up with overtime getting $25,000. Golly, it's great.
So, and then you were off. What was that? What was that set like? So many incredible actors, so many memorable lines, so many things. What's been your fondest memory of that?
Well, that everybody was behind me. They all knew. We didn't have a superstar. Like a big Burt Reynolds or something like that. We had stars, big, good stars, but not superstars. And they were all, because they knew that Mel had handpicked me, that I was going to do something. I didn't even have an agent. And so every time I had an hour or two off, I was going to see an agent. And, when big people like our cast, when they're sending you to see their agent, that really carries a lot of weight because, as you know, getting an agent just right out of the box is almost impossible. But I could have my pick of any of them, and I went with the big William Morris agency, and they were good for me for a good while. Yeah.
What's been, if you pick one anecdote to share with us from the whole time on the set, what would it be?
How do you beat it?
Well, just one particular odd moment, one crazy day, just something,
Well, the thing that really, while we were in my second week on the show, I had a kidney stone. Oh, wow! I never had a kidney stone, and I woke up on a Sunday morning, and I had been down to Hollywood, and I bought at a flea market, or what do they call those things? What do they call them? Flea markets.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah.
And I bought a pair of old blue jeans. Now, folks, I bought these blue jeans about 2 days before I had this kidney stone. I'm thinking, I've got some kind of disease off of these pants here, But I went around the corner to St. Joseph's Hospital. They said, you got a kidney stone, and that is the biggest thing that happened to me on that. Oh my gosh! But I've got so many. We couldn't even go into the great number of memories that I had for the next 4.5 weeks. Is unbelievable.
I know the studio, of course, had concerns about the movie from day one. I mean, Mel was always kind of pushing against it, and that's why he brought in Richard, basically, to give it an imprimatur of doing that humor and everything else. What was it like when the movie finally dropped and the huge reaction it got?
Well, everybody, even from the time we were shooting it to the time we finished it, to the time they went into post-production, to the time it was released. It was only released in 18 theaters across the country. And everybody was panning it, even though they knew that it was great. For some reason, they were panning it. But after the first week that it showed at the Avco Embassy Theater in Los Angeles, it showed there, they didn't have what we call four-walling back then. It played there for 11 months at one place. That was the only show that was on there. And then what was the question? I don't know.
No, it was just when the movie finally dropped, and that everybody was a little concerned about it. But yeah, it seemed to have that slow burn. It was almost like people were embarrassed to say at first that they enjoyed it.
That's exactly what it was right there. And the first 3 screenings that I went to before the picture was really released, the people just went absolutely crazy. There'd be like 150 people in the studio somewhere at Burbank Studios or somewhere around. And the people just went nuts. And the first night I was sitting with Mel, and I said, Mel, boy, it looked like, I don't know anything. But I said, Mel, it looked like we got a big hit here. He said, these people are paid to be here. Let's wait. Wait till we have the world premiere. We'll see. And boy, the world premiere was bigger than that even.
Let's go. And I'll go ahead and get this out of the way. What was it like filming the campfire scene?
The campfire scene.
Which I assume was not with visual effects, but had to be blocked out. Okay, then you get up and you go,
That was when everything in the picture, everything that was done, the people that were involved, everybody on set laughed. And of course, after about 2 days of that, Mel finally said, listen, we'll give you laughs the first couple of takes. The rest of the time, no laughing. Well, we get to the campfire scene, and of course, there were probably, you got to do a close-up on everybody's face. There's 12, 14 people in there. It took a day and a half to shoot the whole scene, and everybody's got their close-up. Well, when we started the thing, everybody was doing their very best. Do you understand what I'm saying? Their very best. But hey, you can only do your very best a couple of times at the most. I'm not even good at a couple of times. So we were all laughing, but it was a great time, and it was a bonding scene for the whole. It was, because everybody, the cameraman, the wardrobe people, they were doing their very best too. Well, of course, we couldn't do good enough, so they brought in the sound effects.
Well, I find it interesting you say bonding, because that scene was a rare bonding moment between me and my dad. We're watching on HBO, and that scene, and me and my dad laughing our derriere off, my mom going like, "What are you laughing at in there?" And my dad was like, "Nothing." And he was looked at me, he's like, "Don't tell her."
Patty, you mentioned your dad. Let me tell you, everybody, when we do these things, or whenever I talk to people anywhere around the country, the dad is always mentioned. I'll bet you 75, 80% of the time, people will say, "Oh, I watched it the first time with my dad. My dad and I watch this together all the time. My dad and mom didn't want me to do that, but my dad took me to the theater anyway." Dads really come into this thing. It's unbelievable. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one of your non-Mel Brooks movies I'd love to just talk about just real quick, Farewell, My Lovely, because you got to share the screen with Robert Mitchum and a young actor named Sylvester Stallone, and we don't know what happened to him, but we wish him well.
Poor guy, he never had a chance.
Yeah. But it was a detective series. You played one of the heavies. Then again, I ran across it, and I was just like, "Oh my God, you're in the car with Stallone and Robert Mitchum."
Yeah. Stallone and I were like, we were heavies. We were like third and fourth guy through the door,
Yeah.
And,
you were the goons.
Yeah. Of course, Sly, he wanted to direct the show, really.
Oh, really? Even back then?
So they invited him to take what salary they were going to give him, but they fired him after about a week or something like that.
Is that why he got killed off?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they got rid of him.
This was well before Rocky, by the way.
When I see him, we always laugh about that. He's been fired once, and I've been fired once. Henry Winkler fired me once.
Really?
From a pilot that we were doing, and I was doing it with Charlie Martin Smith and another guy. I can't call his name, but he was a big star at that time. Well, my character took over the show. It was the words and the action. The words are on the page, but my action was bigger than the words or something, and my character really took over.
You took over? I can't. How could that have possibly happened?
So the director came to me and he said, "Listen, it's your character is taking over the show, and it's not supposed to." I said, "We want you to cut the character back." I said, "Nope, this is what I read for you when I read every word y'all had for me in the script. I'm not taking this character out because it's a great character." Okay. Go home, And Henley was real nice about it. Every time I see him, we always laugh about it.
Very nice, very nice.
They gave me the money.
Hey, got paid, all works. Go ahead, up to a decade. Daphne, you had already had a really good career going on. When did Spaceballs blip on your radar?
Spaceballs was about 4 years into my career. And before Spaceballs, I did The Sure Thing that Rob Reiner directed.
Yes.
And Rob Reiner's dad, Carl Reiner, and Mel Brooks are best friends. And so
Still
Rob told Carl, who told Mel, we have a perfect girl for your princess. So I'm very lucky about their, phone calls to each other. And so then that's when Spaceballs happened, and I was sent in to meet Mel. And I went down to MGM, the studio it's now Sony, I think. But so I met with Mel, I loved it, and he, I don't know, sounds like we had an opposite experience, like he was begging you to do it. And he met me, and I came down, and he said, oh, you're perfect, that's great. And then he wanted me to come back, and then he showed me the sets that they were building. He showed me my car. He introduced me. We went, and I told my agents, I went down to the set again with Mel. I think I have this part. And they said, no, you don't have an offer yet. I was like, so that went on for a long time. He really, he made me, it wasn't solidified for several weeks, but I enjoyed the whole process. But no one was calling me and begging and me. I was pretty much, I hope to God this is working. And finally, we got the offer, and I was just thrilled. I mean, we were talking about how Mel just says, just do your thing and have fun. And one example of mine was playing the princess. She wasn't, first of all, you're with these comic geniuses, these giants of comedy, and I was the straight one. So they had all the punchlines, they had all the setups, they had all the, they were like you in your campfire scene, like 24/7. I'm with, watching, John Candy and Rick Moranis, and I would say, Mel, let me say something funny. And he's like, no, you're perfect. They're not funny. They're not funny without you. Don't you understand? And I'm like, so we have this scene where their stormtroopers are coming after us, and we're supposed to run in the Winnebago. He goes, you go first. Ladies first. And I'm thinking, wait, Mel, I have an idea. And he's like, what? And I said, what about if they shoot my hair? And I'm like, ew, guns. And then what if they shoot my hair? And I freak out and I shoot them all. And he, to Mel's credit, was like, that's a great idea. Let's try it. Oh, so, and he'll tell you this. He does say that. He gives me credit for that. But back in the 80s, there wasn't a lot of CGI. We had a blue screen, but he had to tell the prop guy to go off and make a squib. That's a little actual explosion and a wire that went down my back and under the dress and along the floor, and the guy's over there ready to go poof. And so it goes poof when the guns were supposed to hit me. So it was like a whole gag that took an extra, a lot of time, and I was like, thank God I got something in the movie. So I loved playing Princess Vespa, but, that was really fun doing Rambo.
And if you had to pick one story that lingers with you from the set and the filming of Spaceballs, what is it?
Well, look, I was early, mid-20s. I had a birthday on the set. Every single day. I was in a princess outfit. Every single day was so much fun, and you're surrounded by the sets. Nowadays, everything's scaled back. Money is not as rampant as it was in the 80s. So we had huge sets and costumes and, the lights. And, that dress was so... I love your dress down there in the first row, but mine was like 5 layers and in this corset I could barely even breathe in. And I didn't have a chair. I couldn't sit down. I had what they had in the 40s, I think, were these slant boards. So it's kind of like, like coach. Like a coach on an airplane. It's like that seat. No seat. You're just like this. So there are pictures of me like this is me resting. So consider yourself lucky, mister. Try being a girl in a Mel Brooks movie. But yeah, it was really... when just being around them, I learned from John Candy the most, because I had most scenes with him. He would come up with stuff, and just the joy and the fun. He was very hard worker, Mel. I don't know about you, but I mean, minimum there were 11 takes. I think half because he loved doing it so much, but the other half is he was a perfectionist. And I just remember saying to him, like, take 17. Like, literally years later, he came out to me and said, I'm so sorry. I put you through the ringer. But, like, take, I don't know, 12, 15. He would say, perfect, let's go again. And I was like, I would go up to him and say, Mel, I beg you, what am I doing wrong? Anything? And he's like, no, it's perfect. Let's just go it again. It's just fun. So, that happened. Every day was a blast.
It was a blast, yes.
Yeah.
So his directing style, because you both worked some very excellent directors in your career, does he just sort of tend to be just effervescent? He seems like he's like a little kid. And because I've heard this before, people have said that he forgets he's the director and it becomes the audience.
Yeah, and he kept coming up to us and saying, this is for the kids. We're doing this for the kids because it's long hours. I mean, shooting is 12 hours, plus the makeup and the hair. I'm sure we had the same time in the chair there. I had I don't know. It's a long day, and you get exhausted. And he could feel the energy going down. And he always had so much energy, but he would say, remember the kids, people. Remember the kids. It's for the kids. And so, because he was a kid, and he's right,
Speaking of makeup, was it the original nose always that, or did they try out some various ones before settling on one?
Was it who?
Your original nose. Was it always that one they ended up with, or did they test out a few real quick?
I don't think I ever had a prosthetic nose. I think
really?
It was always just on the picture,
just
and
in
I
the
think
picture?
he
Okay.
made it. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, no, that's fair. That's fair. And forget about the question. Something about a non-Brooks question for you. I would love to hear a little bit about Stone Pillow.
Oh, with Lucille
Ball. Yeah.
Yeah, that was. I think that might have been like the year before. Lucille Ball did her last show. It was a TV movie called Stone Pillow. She played a homeless woman, and I played a young social worker that was meant to get her off the streets. And I was just telling this story the other day. She was such a pro. I mean, this is the thing I've learned. The pros, they work so hard. Lucy, Mel, I mean, she fainted during a scene in Port Authority, and when the ambulance came and they got her up and she came to, she said, we are not cutting. We are shooting that again because we cannot afford to come back to this location. So get those lights back up there, and we shot the rest of the scene. And, she was just constantly, it was about the work, just a real great work ethic. So I learned from that, and we're so lucky to do what we do. I mean, really. So yeah, Stone Pillow was an incredible. I had written letters to her as a kid, a fan letter to Lucille Ball. So I never told her I wanted to be, pro. I didn't want to be a fan, but I was.
You mentioned you're lucky, and we have been lucky to enjoy all your performances all these years, and thank you so much. And thank you so much for coming out and talking to us about these things, everything else, and sharing these memories.
Thank you.
It's really wonderful. So what I would like to do is I'll go ahead and open up to our audience questions. And like I said, it'd be great if you asked one that involved both of them. But by all means, let's do this. Tell you what, let's do a line over on this side because I don't want to block the view of our cameras and stuff. And just come on over to me. And let me grab my candy. Don't forget. All right. Everybody take one step back over on this side. All right, I don't want to block the people over. Okay. Hey, boss, what's your name?
Hi, my name's Andrew.
What do you have for us?
Spaceballs is our family Christmas tradition. Every year, all 11 of us just get around the TV and we pretty much recite it. Your hair dryer. How much of a monstrosity was that thing?
Oh, it was amazing. I had people to carry it, so I didn't have to carry it, so that was good.
Did you need it to survive?
Of course. Okay. And room service. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
She's Jewish, isn't she? All right. Hey, what's your name?
Ellen, like Ellen DeGeneres. Yeah. I wish I had my own TV show. But anyway, like many others, I watched Spaceballs and I watched Blazing Saddles with my dad. Shout out to my dad. He's not here. Anyway, so generic question for both of you. What's your favorite drink?
Mine is pretty easy. My favorite drink. If they ever make an alcoholic drink that tastes as good as a Coca-Cola, I'll be a knockdown, fall-out drunk.
So rum and Coke hold the rum?
I don't drink and never have, and don't plan to. Give me a Coca-Cola.
All right.
Wow. Well, if it's summertime, I like a little rosé with a cube of ice in it. Because it's 5 o'clock somewhere, pretty much always. But I'm from California. I like a good green drink. Sorry, guys. You know what green juice is? Kale and spinach and lemon and ginger and yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Hey, what's your name?
My name is Katrina. Hi, Daphne. Just a little moment. Hey, how are y'all doing? Good. So my question is, everywhere I go, I love my husband, but everybody stops him because he's, of course, dressed as Barf, one of the best characters on Spaceball, including you. So my question to you is, do you have any cherished memory of John Candy that you can share with us from the set?
Yeah, John was such a sweetheart. He was helping Bill Pullman and myself because we hadn't been working a whole lot, and he just was there all the time, saying if you need anything, this is what Mel wants, and and at the end, he had a little gold custom-made bone on a plaque and gave it to every single crew member, which was a couple hundred people. And it said, "Love Barf" at the end of it. Thank you, love Barf. Oh, he was a sweetheart, yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Hey, boss, what's your name?
Arthur.
What do you have for us?
Okay, well, in the vein of the last question, let's direct this to Burton. What are some of your most cherished memories of working with people like Gene Wilder and Harvey Korman and Cleon Little?
For me, it was all about, I'll always remember the help I got. Because, and nobody told me how to do anything, but they would just say, hey, you might want to think about this, think about that, and when I would actually think about something, when you think about it, you look into it and really bring out a lot of stuff. And I would just, that's the best thing they would do for me. And Madeline was special to me, special to everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Let me tell you a quick little story about Madeline. When we did Paper Moon, and I worked with her all the time. And at the end, she had worked on the picture 4 weeks. I worked on it a week. She finished on a Friday night. I finished on Saturday night. She came by my room. She had to get back to New York the next morning, take a red-eye flight, and she just, I didn't know how actors do it, and she hugged me and said, "Oh, I had a good time working with you. It was fun." And she turned around to leave my room, and she walked about 2 steps, and she turned back around and said, "I just know that you and I will work together in this business again one of these days." And I said, "Well, I'm going back to the fire station." And she said, "I don't care. We'll work together one of these days." Madeline was a belated flower child. And when the first time they had they had the full cast fly from wherever we were around the country out to Los Angeles to meet all of us together, read the script, went back home. And I walked in the room, and there Madeline was, and she said, "Are you in this picture?" I said, "Yeah." And she jumped up, ran over and kissed me, and yeah. She's great. But help was an assistance in trying to make sure that your fellow actor gets everything out of himself that he can get out of him. That's what they all gave me.
So the support was there. Well,
Cool. Great. Thank you. Hi, what's your name?
Jamie. What do you have for us? Daphne. I talked to you earlier, not to put you on the spot, but I was hoping you could sing Nobody Knows.
That's a request. It's not a question. We.
Know how to sing Nobody Knows.
Oh, come on now.
No. I can't. One of our house rules is we
All
don't
right.
do requests.
So that's another thing that Mel said. He was like, we're going to put in a real a singer, like a James Robeson. Is that the guy who sang it with the really deep voice? And I said, Mel, I can do it. And he said, no, honey, you're so good. But don't worry about it. We're going to dub it in. And I said, no, listen. Nobody knows. And he's like, oh, my God. So you're right. You really did pull out the best you had.
You get way there, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
For Mel.
Hey, boss, what's your name?
Eddie.
And what do you have for us?
First of all, nice to see you both. Daphne, this question is for you. I know a lot of them aren't around home today, but do you keep in touch with anybody from Spaceballs, any of the cast members? Keep in touch with any of them today?
No, I have to say I've been in touch with just Mel a couple times. You know, he mentioned a couple years ago in an interview that he wanted to do a part 2, a sequel to Spaceballs. So after that, I ran into his writing partner, Tommy Meehan, and we had dinner a few times. He was Mel's really good friend, and they wrote Spaceballs together, and he also created and wrote Annie. And he has since passed, but we had dinner a few times, and he said, yeah, Mel and I are going to work on this. So I hope he still does it. And who else? I don't think that was a long time ago. I know it's on TV a lot, but let's.
How do you think he feels?
Y'all come up to me and say, I grew up watching it. And I'm like, yeah, thanks.
Hey, boss, what's your name?
Chris.
What do you have for us?
For Burton, who is the most famous person who's ever killed you in a movie?
That's a poser.
James Arness.
Not bad. Hey, what's your name?
Greg.
What do you have for us?
So, first, one thing. Blazing Saddles has been a favorite of mine for a long time. I remember even way back in high school, they asked for a favorite quote from a movie, and it was from Blazing Saddles. So I'm thrilled to actually get to meet someone from the show. And a question for both of you. Is it daunting showing up on the set where there are legends there?
Yeah. Yeah, it was. It was really, for me, you know, again, at the same time that I wanted to say some funny jokes, I also took relief in that I could play like the crabby straight girl, you know, and they had to come up with a lot of jokes, and I just kind of had to be like this all the time, you know, what's happening? But I really love that I got to just sit back and watch the talent and the genius. What about you?
You know, I was never in awe of the people that I was working with right off the bat, you know. I appreciated working with them, but I was never, I might have been nervous, but I wasn't afraid to work with these big people. I'd been a boxer for about 10 years before that, and I set records that will never be broken. They won't be broken. They won't, you know. And when you look across the ring at a guy who wants to kill you, and to me, that took all of my fear just fighting those guys. But when I got in front of the camera, I guess I just had something in me that said, hey, go do a good job, have a good time, you know. So, and the people that I worked with allowed me to do that too, yeah.
It's good. Yeah, thank you. Hey.
You got to give him candy for that?
Yeah.
Not yet. Not yet. We'll know it when it happens. Hey, Bob, what's your name? What's your question?
My name's Chris. This question is for Daphne. I want to ask about your time on The Fly 2. When your counterpart in the scene has heavy face makeup or is sometimes a big puppet creature, how do you act to something like that?
Well, that's when all those acting classes paid off, you know, that you're falling in love with this guy, this cute guy who's turning into a goopy, grotesque fly. Yeah, no, that's true. That is where all the acting paid off. But it was great also to have Mel. I finished that. I finished Spaceballs, and then Mel produced The Fly too, so he came up on set and was there, and it was so weird to have Mel on the set and not be doing a comedy. You know, that was like, but yeah. So I mean, it was, again, that's what the acting is. You know, you use substitution. I've been in love before, so I just pretended I was in love with. I could fall in love with this if you needed me, if I got paid enough.
All right, Thanos, come on up. Don't do any snapping while we're here. Okay, what's your name? What's your question?
My name's Adam. This is a question for Mr. Burton. When you were also in Back to the Future 3, showing off the cult peacemakers, would you rather stay in that Western universe, or would you rather be in the Blazing Saddles Western universe if you had to pick one?
Oh, ooh, boy, that's a good question. But I have to say that nothing will ever replace Blazing Saddles. I mean, I've done a lot of wonderful big pictures and been a part of some great cinematic things, but when you get right down to it, nothing compares to Blazing Saddles.
There you go. That was a good one.
Hey, Thanos. Hey, I'll tell you what. Here's a red one and a blue one. So you chew them and they'll go purple for it. So match your complexion. Okay, step it over, boss. Hey, what's your name?
Michael.
What do you have for us?
You guys have been in two of my favorite movies ever, and
you saw Soccer Dog. You saw Soccer Dog. Oh, this is good. I'm sorry. Go on.
I suppose I walked into that one. What is your favorite line from any movie or TV show that you've ever been in, and why? And that's for both of you guys.
Okay, do we have any suggestions? Putting me on the spot. Literally my brain is just like turned to mush. Favorite line that that I've said. You know, I had some good lines in The Sure Thing as well as Spaceballs. How about, who saw The Sure Thing? I saw one hand back there. Okay, so it's kind of a smaller movie, but y'all should see it. It's really well written. And there is a line where it's pouring rain, we haven't eaten, we're stuck out, John Cusack and I are stuck out in the rain, and there's a trailer we're trying to get in and out of the rain, and I find a credit card, and I say, oh, my mom gave me a credit card, I have a credit card. And he's like, you have a credit card? And I go, oh yeah, but I can only use it in emergencies. And she says, well, maybe one will come up. That was a good line.
My favorite line was from a pilot that didn't sell, but it was so much fun to do. I was a cross-country truck driver. My name was Jammer. And I was trying to get some girl to go home with me out of a restaurant somewhere. And I said, yeah, lady, I made the run from Houston with a tar on fire. I got cozy with a cooch dancer down to Cobalt County Fair, and I got me this here reward from a wild-looking widow woman for replacing her dead friend.
Oh my God, that's a tongue twister. Where's the candy? I'm going to give you my candy for that one.
You get that one right there. You get that one right there. Hi, guys. My name is Patty, and I wanted to know, do you have any social media outlets that we could all follow you on, and do you have any upcoming projects that you're allowed to share with us?
Social media is Daphne Zuniga at Twitter and Instagram. And I'm coming out on August 17th in a Lifetime movie where I play an evil nurse who makes Nurse Ratched look like Daisy May, sweetheart. And it'll be on Lifetime. It's called Gates of Paradise, and it was a real blast to do. I love doing those roles.
And as for me, I haven't done a picture in 3.5 years now. My motion picture career must be in the dumper. But I do all kinds of Blazing Saddles appearances all over the country. I do about 50 commercials every year, all of them just like this. About a number of years ago, Mel said, he said, you've done so well with Blazing Saddles, this should be your brand. This is anytime I do anything for Blazing Saddles now, I do it dressed as my character. So anyway, I'll continue to do a lot of commercials, and I'll play golf the rest of the time. I play golf a lot.
I have to say, Mel Brooks, as well as being comic genius, is also a very shrewd businessman. He's famous for that, so I think he got you. He's extending his brand. It's like a walking advertisement.
I wish that he had told me that.
You should be charging him
40 years ago.
And when I called him, because I've started directing movies, and so before I directed my first movie, which aired this year, I wrote to Mel and I said, Mel, I want to direct movies. I was hoping I could take you to lunch and ask you some advice. And he said, I'd love to go to lunch with you, honey, but you learned all you need to know directing, working with me. That's all you need to know. It's just like, so he's a very, very smart guy, Mel.
And you two have been absolutely lovely, wonderful guests. Thank you for spending this hour with us.